Hey traders, well Friday, October 10th was one of the worst days we've seen in markets and especially in TQQQ in many months. It was just a bloodbath. So what is a trader to do now? Well, I'm going to give you some suggestions today on mastering TQQQ trading. Holy Al Pacino, like a guy that goes against the mob and gets whacked. That's what happened to TQQQ yesterday. You know, in a recent video, which I'll post near the end, I warned that the TQQQ's 14-period RSI on the weekly chart was now very overbought and that risk of decline was now greater than possible reward going forward. You know, traders, when markets are severely overbought, traders and institutions look for any excuse to sell. On Friday, October 10th, they finally got one. It was a calm Friday morning. TQQQ opened up at $108.73, about 28 cents above Thursday's close. Then around 9:50 a.m. it reached a high of 109.66. The 8-period EMA was still well above the 20-period SMA, showing there was still a lot of strength in TQQQ. For the next hour, prices moved slightly lower, for the most part trading sideways, and that's pretty typical for TQQQ once it opens up higher and hits a peak. At 10:55, TQQQ was at $109.21. Then suddenly, word drops from the White House. President Trump announces he will implement 100% tariffs on China beginning November 1st, after earlier threatening to cancel an upcoming meeting with President Xi of China. The president said this is due to China's extraordinarily aggressive position on trade related to export controls. China is stating they will impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. And this was a day after China imposed new restrictions on rare earth minerals. Well, this was big news, and not good. And like a shot, the NASDAQ 100 began to fall, and TQQQ 3 times as fast. Over the next 15 minutes, almost 15 million shares traded hands, and that's extraordinarily high. And the price fell all the way to $104.48. Then the price continued falling until 11:35 a.m., touching a low of $100.47. The next few hours saw a bit of stabilization, but by 2:30 the market began to sell off again, falling all the way down to $97.07 by the close of trading. Well, TQQQ finished the day down 10.49%, the largest drop since early April of 2025, when it was finishing its 2-month tariff-induced correction. From the high of $109.66 to the low of $96.83 right before the closing bell, TQQQ had dropped $12.83 or 11.69%. Wow. It was a bloodbath for sure. So what can traders do now? Well, number one, don't panic. Okay, TQQQ was due for a correction after such a big run-up. Before today, it was up 153.68% since April 7th of this year. That is a huge run-up. And remember, we may very well get a bounce on Monday. If we do, use that to either trim positions, sell covered calls on 100 or more shares, or buy some put hedges. Today's ugly bearish engulfing candlestick portends more downside, and that's very possible. Remember, QQQ only fell 3.47%. So that could have a lot further to go, and of course it'll take TQQQ down 3 times as much. Well, what can traders do now? If you've been planning on dollar cost averaging into TQQQ, now might be a good time to start, but only use a small amount of money. And I also want you to resist the urge to buy SQQQ because that's been a disaster over the years. Instead, consider buying some shares of defensive stocks that do well in a market downturn. You know, food, maybe energy, and tobacco stocks like Altria or General Mills. Both of those were up on Friday and could offset future losses on your TQQQ shares. Now remember, we had a huge correction between February and April, the last time the threat of tariffs were in the air. So although we could get a bounce on Monday, the 10-day 60-minute chart, which I'm going to show you in a moment, looks absolutely horrible right now. If you see further losses on Monday morning, just stand back and wait for things to settle down before you start getting into buying any shares. Now, this is the chart of Friday, the one-day chart. And notice that we were doing pretty well here. The 8 was still above the 20, and then we get to about 11:30 when the announcement was made, and suddenly it's one red candlestick after another coming all the way down. You had a little bit of stabilization here, but it starts drifting lower as we go through the midpoint of the day. I'd have to call this a puny rally at best. We go sideways a little bit, and then around 2:30 we start selling off, and we ended up closing right near the lows of the day, which is always a negative for a stock, or in this case an ETF. Now here is the 10-day 60-minute chart, and you can see the steep red bearish engulfing candlestick from yesterday, and man is that ugly. And look at the candlesticks coming down here. This is the 8 period EMA, this is the 20 period. We had a big cross below here, and usually it takes a while for the 8 to stabilize and for the candlesticks to start moving back up. So don't be in a hurry. Even if we get a slight uptrend on Monday, a little bit of a bounce, it may just be a dead cat bounce. Watch the volume, see how strong the volume is. If it's not strong at all, I would not get into it, and I might use that to sell some pre-existing positions. Look at the heavy volume here that we had. All right, remember these are 60-minute time bars. Well, that's it for today. I would love for you to leave some comments and tell me how you did on Friday. Did you lose money, or did you get out right before the downtrend came? I'd love to hear from you all. Remember to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to post that video that I did on the RSI at 70. And until I see you again, have a good trading day and take care.